Bienvenidos en Alemania.
England went there believing they could win the tournament for the first time in 40 years.
They've got the best team we've had for a long time, so hopefully we'll get in there and we'll win.
For Germany, it was the greatest event since the East and West were unified. It also presented an opportunity to bury still raw memories of her Nazi past. But some were intent on spoiling the party.
And when Germany was chose to host the World Cup, it gave everyone a massive boost. Everybody wants to go there. Let's go and win the bastard thing on German soil, and if anything comes in our way in the meantime, go through it.
This is the untold story of the ugly face of the beautiful game, filmed undercover at the greatest soccer extravaganza on earth.
Engeland, Engeland, Engeland.
England's World Cup journey began in Frankfurt, where the fans were feted as the best in the world for being loud, proud and passionate.
It's good atmosphere. Good atmosphere. It's all good fun. So everybody's getting on with everybody else. So
absolutely brilliant time.
Fantastic.
The best ever.
Best crack ever.
But England hadn't even kicked a ball before there was trouble. An ugly confrontation with German supporters in the city's main square. The police didn't overreact, but quietly separated rival fans.
Look over there. These are the English, always making trouble. Always, always.
As the evening drew in, the atmosphere degenerated, with racist chanting from a section of the crowd. That night, they picked an Irish pub to mob up. It was now English turf, territory to be defended, and foreigners were not welcome. Some supporters were itching for a fight. There were no foreign hooligans to fight, or so it seemed, so the English turned on themselves. Following your country abroad provides an opportunity for rival fans to settle old scores. This Leeds United fan had been glassed in the face by a supporter of Lincoln City.
Anywhere where there's alcohol, vast amounts of people, media, threat of police, it's, you know, it's like a self-combustion, isn't it? It's going to, you know, regardless of where you are, there will be problems.
And the problems were not long in coming. By 1 o'clock in the morning, the number of fans on the streets had dwindled. Only small pockets of English hung around near the brothels and the late-night drinking dens in Frankfurt's red light district. German hooligans had been biding their time. Now they made their move. they launched a surprise ambush against England fans drinking in a bar. The English retaliated in an explosion of violence. The English regrouped and advanced up the street. Our cameraman, filming openly, was assaulted from behind. German police arrived. A plainclothes officer helped identify the troublemakers. Looking on were a gang of Hell's Angels who run security in the red light district. When police tried to move them on, they took exception.
Germans causing trouble. Germans causing trouble. We're all behaving ourselves.
In the bar over there, we were on the corner there. I was brought over, and you're not German? And they went, yeah. I said, look, we're over here in the bar, you're there, you've been staring at us for a fucking hour. Do you fucking want it or not? And they went, right. So as I backed across the road, they all fucking got that, we'll fucking smack around the head. That's it.
Police took control and cordoned off both ends of the street. The English were now surrounded. Our undercover team tried to leave.
What do you want us to do? Just go this way.
But nobody was going anywhere. Despite the violence, there was only a handful of arrests, mainly Hell's Angels. Once the situation had calmed down, all these England fans were allowed to leave. It wasn't meant to be like this. Security surrounding the tournament was huge. 170,000 England fans were expected. In order to deter violence, British police were allowed to patrol the streets and airports of Germany for the first time.
We've been checking the people coming into Frankfurt, making sure none of the people who are on our banned list are coming into the country, and also we're here as a sort of a friendly face. British police are here, we're here to help make their stay here happy, and that they feel safe, that they've got people they can come and speak to if needs be.
England, 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 England.
Over 3,500 hardcore English hooligans were banned from going to Germany, part of tough new anti-hooligan laws designed to try and keep the tournament trouble-free. They were told to surrender their passports and report to police stations in England during the World Cup. The police were optimistic.
I don't really have any particular concerns. I'm travelling with a group of very professional, highly motivated police officers who are going to assist our German colleagues. Police officers by nature are very flexible in what they do, and we will respond to whatever the situation is. I go with a very positive view that our participation in this will help to diffuse situations that in the past may have caused trouble. So I don't have any specific fears.
There's definitely going to be 3,000 known hooligans missing from this tournament. But if anybody in their right mind thinks that there's only 3,000 hooligans in the whole of this country, then there's something wrong.
The Germans had had a dose of the English disease following England's 5-1 win over its national side in a World Cup qualifier. One of the ringleaders that day was this man, Gilly Shaw. And 5 years on, he'd slipped into Frankfurt for the World Cup finals. More trouble. English hooligans on the rampage in Albufeira, Portugal, during the European Championships 2 years ago.
You're not right in Albufeira. What? You're not right in Albufeira. Alright. Doing that. Doing that. I fucking banged up that. Oh my god. What is it again? There you go. Why was I jumping on our back? That's the road. Fixing money.
This is a gang of young hooligans from Huddersfield, a so-called youth firm.
So you go to Germany? There's only 3 of us there, man. What are you going to do? Where are you going to get there? We're flying from East Midlands.
We'll see more of them later. It's after dark when most of the trouble started. Back in Frankfurt, plainclothes English and German police acted as spotters. They watched the mob and identified troublemakers. And they recommended the tactics to prevent violence. Outside the Eros bar, the scene of the previous night's riot, the atmosphere was tense. Still smarting from yesterday's ambush, England hooligans were out for revenge.
There is a knocking shop down there, it's 25 cents, 25 euros, but fuck that, someone there, getting fucking aggressive out of me crap. I'm not walking away from this night if it goes off. Fucking no chance.
This is Ian, a Chelsea fan. He'd noticed German police spotters watching from a distance.
Line up and right. Also, right, mate, you look at people, you think they're fucking thugs, right? They've got fucking plastic wires all going to their old building, yeah.
He then identified British plainclothes police.
Tell me they're not old built. They are right on top. Why don't we just batter them? Let's do this British old fuck them. The Germans ain't going to fucking stick up for them, are they? I'm ready for it, mate. It'll be off in a minute, anyway.
It's clear that police attempts to keep troublemakers out of Germany had not been totally successful. This is a Peterborough United supporter.
From Luton, I've been on a banner a few years ago. I thought, no way I'm going to get in if they check me, but they fuck all. I was shitting myself 2 days, and there was fuck all people there. I'm here now, so fuck
it. Much to Ian's surprise, they were allowed to leave. It's not something the police at home would have permitted.
I thought they were closed up, but they just let us walk off. Nothing. And the British will do all right, they'll make themselves busy. But
the authorities were keen to keep a low profile.
We can't do more, I'll text you after.
Their approach was non-confrontational.
We know that in the case of most hooligans, aggressive behavior on our part would be more likely to incite them to violence. The reason? That the typical hooligan wants to test his strength in an unacceptable manner. He wants to beat up his opponent, even though he knows that the other guy will probably fight back. If our police give the impression of being ready to go into battle, that will inflame the hooligans' emotions so that they reach an even higher pitch. So in other words, from the point of view of deployment tactics, it's better to say that we want our policemen to come across as friendly.
It's a very warm afternoon here in Frankfurt, and here we go. England's World Cup campaign in Germany is underway.
And any second now into the bright sunshine here in Frankfurt come the teams. England to the left, Paraguay all in blue to the right. Still seeing a few black sparks going off as well, even though it's a beautiful sunny afternoon, about 25 degrees centigrade here.
Closing in, Owen. Heaven help us. How do we get through games like this? I mean, it's been pretty torturous to watch, but England have won the game. Dear, oh dear.
Ordinary English fans despair at our reputation for hooliganism. But other European countries also have violent supporters.
Welcome to Dortmund for the Group A game between Germany and Poland.
Germany and Poland are arch rivals, with the animosity between their supporters born out of events that occurred more than 60 years ago. Poland was crushed and then brutally occupied by the Germans in World War II. Its Jewish population deported and murdered in the Nazi concentration camps.
There have already been confrontations between Polish and German supporters on fields alongside motorways where they have organised fights where they tape each other up and wear, you know, mouth guards and gum guards and strip off, and it's last man standing unless the police find it and prevent it.
In Poland, the fan and the hooligan scene is fairly new. It's very aggressive. The National League in Poland has huge problems with hooliganism. But it is a situation where communication between the Polish authorities and the German authorities is, of course, of utmost importance.
3 miles of red carpet was laid down to direct fans from the station straight to the stadium. With a hooligan fringe of their own, the Germans understood the importance of proper match day organisation. But this was an intelligence-led operation, a covert war between hooligan and police.
We have a lot of spotters here. I mean, these are police officers from Poland without uniforms, in plain clothes, and they are working here supporting German police officers and informing them about potential troublemakers.
Uniformed police had been tipped off by spotters about a pre-arranged fight between German and Polish hooligans. A group of suspected ringleaders were surrounded and removed one at a time in a series of preventative arrests designed to stop trouble before it even began. But the city was swarming with hooligans. Undercover officers battled with fans. Hundreds of riot police tried to clear drunken hooligans from Dortmund's city centre. Police had separated rival fans, so German hooligans attacked the riot squad instead. Sporadic violence broke out all over the city. The Bavarian Riot Squad, the country's elite public order unit, dealt with the unrest. The police arrested almost 430 in Dortmund. The German authorities seemed satisfied that up till now they'd been capable of handling trouble. But worse was to come later on in the tournament, when they faced the English.
Germany won
has put Germany through and sent Poland home.
There's about 70,000 English fans in the vicinity of Nuremberg today.
And it's also inextricably linked with the Second World War.
If there's one place in Germany most associated with the evils of Nazism, it's Nuremberg. Carpet-bombed by the Allies, its citizens are particularly sensitive to references to what happened here more than 6 decades ago. A group of England fans visited a museum built next to a giant arena in which Hitler held mass rallies. It was the seat of his power and a monument to the Third Reich.
You can see here a map with all the relics which the Nazis constructed, and they intended to construct architecture for world power.
The surprise element was the reality part of it, really, the fact that we, you know, because of where we live, we're sort of distant from these things, but when you actually hear in the sort of heart of the sort of Nazi empire, if you like, and then see all the documentation and realised it started here and it happened here, I think that's a little bit chilling, yeah.
It's quite humbling. It's one of those places where you ever walk around and you think there's a lot more to life. You know, I've got family that have been in the war, and it's good to come and see the other side, what it was all about.
Germany is facing up to its past, and fans were warned against displaying the swastika or making the Nazi salute.
The message is clear. Any use of Nazi symbols, Nazi slogans, is a criminal offense and will consequently be prosecuted.
But that didn't stop QPR fans raising their arms on a balcony once used by Hitler when reviewing his troops. On the streets of Frankfurt, there were similar gestures. And many repeatedly insulted their hosts by adopting a song about shooting down German bombers as their unofficial World Cup anthem.
Such jibes are almost unknown and unusual in Germany. They are considered as a lack of respect for the victims of the war and the Nazi regime.
It's been bred into us from a very young age to dislike Germans because of the war. My grandfather was a wing commander in the First World War, and now whereas he had a lot of good words to say about other foreign countries, he used to call the German bastards. He mentioned the Germans, the word bastards would follow it.
Well, there's been some chanting about the German bombers, 9, 10 German bombers and all that, and what's it got to do with football? It makes you sick to be English, to be honest. You know, it's just naughty. Football song's great. You know, we all support our countries, so support them with pride.
If it makes England sound loud and proud, then I suppose that's their ethos behind it, but as far as, you know, 99% of the English fans that are out here have walked away from that pretty much instantaneously, which is something that we never get credited for.
The motto of the World Cup was, "A time to make friends," and that's just what the vast majority of England fans did. Before the match with Trinidad and Tobago, they staged a special contest.
England choice in this game. England 15. We'll have a bat. We'll have a bat. All right. Okay, we'll field. We're gonna win.
Trinidadians, but that's the collective term for people from Trinidad and Tobago. This is your moment.
And if you're stuck in traffic, wind down the window, take a deep breath, and stay with us. We'll bring you all the action here.
Oh, Michael Owens in the onside flag. Wayne Rooney knee replacement is coming in. It is towards Peter Crouch. It's in. Relief at last. Redemption for
Steven Gerrard. Left footer. Left footer. Top corner.
But that's the end of the game as far as England are concerned. Top of the group, going through to the next round. But in what condition?
But all that really matters is that England 2, Trinidad and Tobago
0. England have got out of jail.
That evening, some England supporters stood back from the celebrations. They'd found a place to drink, and their chants were about belittling other countries. Brazilians were also in Nuremberg, following a win over Croatia. But when they tried to join the fun, they were roundly abused. All the while, the police stood in the background. The majority of hardcore English hooligans may have been prevented from reaching Germany. The banning orders saw to that. But they were replaced by something else. Lager lads.
I think when the tournament started, the group of people I was most interested in was the lads, who were out for a party time, but if some trouble happens, they'll be right in the middle of it. And I think that's what we've seen through the championship. We've seen that group constantly in the thick of things, and they've just been totally antisocial and loutish. The subculture. It is this misguided loyalty. Nobody's trying to antagonise or do anything. So I wonder what's beneath all this. Is it football? Is there something else going on that we don't know about? What are these people being loyal to? Because I can't find the cause that they're rallying behind. It isn't football.
Their behaviour was not dissimilar from anything witnessed in our town centres at the weekend. Their anger was directed at anyone.
All you're bothered about is getting your fucking silly little story. Look at you just standing around here waiting for fucking... You fucking scumbags. Are you English? Are you English? You're betraying your own fucking people. It's fucking horrible.
Conflict's ingrained in human nature. You know, if we stripped ourselves down and took all our nice computers away and our nice cars and our comfy chairs and put us all together as we were thousands of years ago, what's the first thing we're going to do? Fight over that stick because we can make a fire with that. We're animals.
Welcoming you to the capital of the Rhineland and to Germany's fourth largest city. It should be an English-type atmosphere this evening.
Halfway through the tournament, and England's travelling roadshow moved to Cologne. Fans were here for the final first-round game against Sweden, opponents we haven't beaten in 38 years. In amongst the crowd were hooligan gangs from across England. Gangs from the lower divisions of English football are always well represented when the national side plays abroad.
These smaller clubs come from like little towns, little cities, where they've had no opportunity to mix it with the big boys. Your Burnleys, your Carlisles, your Huddersfields. Teams like that which never get the opportunity to watch their club side in Europe.
Drunken England fans overran the statues in Cologne's historic square. German police didn't want to inflame the situation, which some considered a mistake.
If I was police commander back in the UK, I think I would have wanted my officers to, well, I would have instructed my officers to take some action against some individuals. The very difficult balance between being over-tolerant and not trying to instigate some kind of trouble.
An England fan injured himself falling from a statue. Medics tried to help, but were hampered by the crowd.
The lad's fallen from up here. We've called the police in to help out. They've come in with all the helmets on. Next thing you know, idiots are throwing bottles at them.
15 police officers were injured in a volley of glass bottles thrown by English thugs. In the middle of the mob, English hooligans gained strength in numbers and urged each other on, surging forward, determined to cause a riot. But the police here adopted tougher tactics than those previously seen.
This is my first day here because I've come over, first time watching England away because of how good the fans have been. So I'm pissed off. Totally pissed off.
Caught up in the violence, an innocent England supporter became separated from his son. When he tried to breach police lines, he was temporarily blinded with pepper spray. At a local school on the eve of the game, the official England Supporters Club entertained students with a few football songs. Visits like this helped to build bridges. Youngsters learned not all England fans were hooligans.
We're very conscious that we've got a negative reputation as England fans. We can have an argument whether we deserve that reputation or not, but the fact is we've had a negative reputation for the last 10 or 20 years. By doing efforts like this, we begin to turn those negatives into positives.
Organisers had put a lot of work into this and were dismayed by the previous night's violence.
hooligan is too polite a term for them. They're bullies, they're school bullies who want to assert the fact that they're here and they want to ruin it for the rest of us. We want to be the most welcome guests at the party. That doesn't stop me wanting England to win and preferably to beat Germany. I'm just as passionate as any fan, but I will not accept this idea that patriotism is dragging your country's reputation through the street, which is what those people are doing.
Back on the streets of Cologne, and it was match day. There was a huge influx of England fans, and the mayor had a warning.
We don't want to have people who come with no friendly manner, with violence, with attacks, and with fighting ideas. That is not what we want to have in the city. If there are young people or elder people who do not behave as we want and as it is good for football, they have to be punished, of course.
And he was true to his word. When 45 known German hooligans were spotted in the city, they were immediately arrested. But there were many more who'd managed to evade the police, and they'd come to fight the English.
We have a large number of hooligans. Some of these do consider the English as their preferred enemies or counterparts for brawls.
These foreign two-bob firms think that because England have 3,000 hardcore fans banned, that they will be walked upon. Let's clear England out of the way. This is our chance. The Poles, the Swiss, for Christ's sake, and the Germans think there's never been a better opportunity to take on the English. They can bring it on, can't they?
There were English hooligans there too. Members of Huddersfield's youth firm had made it to Germany. Steve Hunt was in the middle of a story about nearly coming to blows with a gang from Cardiff.
Cardiff brought 1,000 or what? All right. They were like, no, give us your number, I'll get a coach order. I said, well, you don't need a number, just fucking come and we'll have it with you.
Steve's brother, Andy Hunt, was there.
No, I got watched it was, yeah.
And this is Gavin Buckley. They went off to watch the match on television in a local bar.
It's called the Rhine Energy Stadion when FC Köln play. We've got a ground which has been completely redesigned for this World Cup.
Oh, it's gone down.
That looks pretty serious to me.
Here's Joe Cole. Dipping volley. Oh, it's into the net. My word, from 35 yards. To Sweden, it's there. Fred Lampard. Oh, the fans singing a bit too soon. Oh, what a tangle. And it's in. It's gone in. It's 2-2.
And haven't done enough to have won the match today. You know, there's obviously worrying signs for the future.
After the final whistle, violence broke out in the city. An England fan threw the first punch. They were trying to attack German supporters who gathered in the main square. Under the now familiar hail of bottles, the police separated the warring factions. Huddersfield's youth firm were on the front line. Stephen Hunt urged others on to greater violence. Huddersfield was still at the forefront of the trouble. police cleared the square and arrested over 100 troublemakers, mostly Germans. Former hooligans claimed that fear and adrenaline are addictive.
You can get treatment for anything: alcohol, gambling, drugs, sex. You know, there's no counsellors that are prepared to sit down with us and say, right, tell me about it. What's your problem? My problem is I can't get football violence out of my head.
In amongst the crowd was Ronald Kirsch, an international hooligan Mr. Fix-It. He organises fights between hooligan gangs across Europe.
I was a good German film when they came in this way. It was about nearly $300. Really? Yeah. That's the film before the people stopped them around here. Yeah. Takes the old boy and runs through. That's it. Maybe 50, 60 guns through. Yeah. And I was a small scuffer between the England.
Kirsch was disappointed. He said the police tactics of preventative arrests were spoiling his fun.
We were in Dortmund for the Germany-Poland game. Were you there? Yeah, of course. You got to be, haven't you? You know, that was totally 80 Polster, 70 arrested before, because we got a pre-arranged fight in Oberhausen. Oh yeah? And the top firm, the coach was stopped, 60 boys. No way. And 10 boys from Warsaw was also stopped. I was shit day.
Customary wobbles along the way, but England made it through to the knockout stage.
Well, when is this English team going to get a grip on this World Cup?
England's penultimate game was in Stuttgart in southwest Germany. This was to be the scene of the worst outbreak of hooliganism in the whole World Cup. Hundreds of English fans arrived 3 days early for the match against Ecuador. They commandeered steps overlooking the main square. It was like an old-fashioned football terrace, and having gained the high ground, they set about abusing passers-by. A small band of Tunisians was caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. They'd been mistaken for Turks and assaulted by drunken thugs who threw beer and bottles. Turks are reviled by some fans following the stabbing of 2 Leeds supporters in Istanbul 6 years ago. They were chased down the steps and attacked again. The police decided to crack down. Over 130 English fans were surrounded.
It was a very aggressive atmosphere. They were throwing bottles and singing loudly. We considered this to be dangerous to other citizens who were walking around. So I decided to arrest these troublemakers.
Having lost their patience, they detained everyone. It was the first time preventative arrests were used against England supporters. Our undercover team was caught in the middle and were among the first to be detained. It was a long walk to the waiting police van. They were read their rights, cuffed and put in the back of the vehicle.
You must sit down in the car and the car drive you to the station and there stand the identity.
Back, please. A Millwall supporter was about to join them.
He's got the fucking ties on.
It would be a long night in the cells. Those arrested were all released the following morning and told to leave the city. The police had laid down a marker. No longer would they tolerate English troublemakers. They would treat the English in the same way as they had neutralized the Germans and the Poles. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Behave or be arrested. While England fans were in Stuttgart to see their team play Ecuador in the knockout stage of the tournament, German interest centred on their match with Sweden. A vast crowd gathered to watch the game on giant screens in the city centre. There was huge pride in the national flag, something not seen in Germany for many years. But behind the scenes there were concerns. Fearing that English thugs would wreak havoc, British police advised their host to close the steps.
What we said was the steps is going to be a congregational area again. You can consider whether you wish to close them off, deny access to people. It's an option. It was an option that wasn't taken.
You know, that's a public area. You cannot just say nobody can go there. We are living in an open society, in an international community, so we do not want to close everything.
Germany won 2-1, much to the disappointment of the English contingent who'd wanted the host nation to lose. They'd reclaimed the steps, as predicted. When thousands of German supporters began filing back into town, they subjected them to a torrent of abuse. As the beer continued to flow, their behaviour deteriorated. In an act of provocation, this man spat on the German flag. It worked, and soon punches and chairs were flying. The situation developed into a standoff between the two sets of supporters. Some desperately tried to get away. It was about to become a full-scale riot. Belatedly, the police moved in and lashed out at anyone within range. In the middle of the mass disorder, beer continued to be sold in large quantities.
There were bars that I would have shut, but just round the corner you've got street sellers selling bottles of beer anyway. In Stuttgart, on average, they drank 17 litres of beer each.
Riot police restored order with pepper spray and batons. The softly approach of earlier games was a thing of the past.
There's no way just to react as normal people, you know, to discuss and say, please behave normal, otherwise you have serious consequences. There's no way like this. It's only the way to show the power of the police with a dress, with this protecting dress, showing a very strong mass of policemen, that it's clear if you behave and try to resist, you will be the loser.
At the bottom of the steps, a Turk was assaulted. He'd lost his glasses in the attack. Drunken England fans refused to allow him to recover them. They even took his photograph as a sick souvenir. So the police began a carefully orchestrated operation to pick out the ringleaders one by one and sent in snatch squads to make arrests. Dozens were led away, some so drunk they could hardly stand. This was alcohol-fueled yob culture. There may have been fewer hardcore hooligans, but the presence of so many drunken thugs was worrying to the British police.
We've made huge steps in controlling organised violence. That side of things, in general, has been a success. I think the next step is the antisocial louts that refuse to take any cognizance of any authority, laws, regulations, drink to excess. Generally, people you wouldn't want to live next door to. Now, if they start to associate themselves with football, as they associate themselves with the nighttime economy across the UK, I think we as a society have got real problems.
Nearly 400 England fans were taken into custody. Just a few days earlier, the Germans had been honouring them as the best in the world, but their love affair with the England's World Cup entourage was over. The following day, England met Ecuador. On the ground, police mounted another huge operation to ensure the tournament was not consumed by the English disease.
Well, it really is a sweltering day in Stuttgart.
It's about Rooney's fitness, it's about the formation that England are going to play, and substitutions and the use of them.
And so far it's torture. And there are no excuses out there, none whatsoever. Don't let that frustration boil over weight. Keeper Moore is crouching a yard in front of the goal line. Beckham comes forward, right-footed, head on goal, and it's into the net. David Beckham has scored for England. He did deliver. That is why he's in the team. Lampard in towards Wayne Rooney. Rooney trying to squeeze through two defenders. Falls over, goalkeeper has the ball.
The throw in, and I make it now. We've played the 3 minutes, and it's all over here in Stuttgart. England have stumbled their way, really, over the finishing line here.
The fans celebrated, but some were out of control. It was a culture of excess, taken beyond the level of acceptable behaviour. On the steps were Andy Hunt and Gavin Buckley of Huddersfield's youth firm. They were revelling in a close encounter they'd had with the police.
No Bill charged us. Oh shit. So self-running. Weird mate, Andy, we took right and police off on me. We ran to a lot of fucking chairs. We couldn't get through when we took it over. Fucking I got whacked in the back there. Fucking mate Andy got Andy got whacked in his hand. Yeah, it's all fucking emergency surgery.
Huddersfield's Stephen Hunt was also there. And Steve Cornell, who'd been arrested the previous night and released only on the condition he stayed out of town. Like many others, he ignored the warning.
We're not allowed in here today. We're not allowed in today. We're
What did they say? Just go home. They said you're not 3 miles. Stuck out. They're not worried about that. It's loads of them. I've seen loads of things over there last night.
The poor performances of England on the field didn't dampen their fans' celebrations. Only the Portuguese now stood in the way of the team reaching the last 4.
Will this compact arena in Gelsenkirchen be remembered as a gateway to the semi-final? Or as England prepare now to come out, will it be a backdoor to World Cup oblivion?
There were scenes that you wish England were not associated with, and the looks on some people's faces, evil, hatred, and really the moral leadership of some of the parents that I saw here was hugely disappointing.
Not many chances, not many opportunities, and it's pretty tense and pretty nervy.
Probably the most disappointing thing I've seen at this championship was a young boy of about 8 years of age singing 10 German Bombers. Where do we go from here with people like that?
The referee has gone to his pocket. It's red! He sent Rooney off!
To stamp down hooligans once and for all, you'd have to get every male between the age of 14 and 40 and chop their arms and legs off.
The whistle has gone at the end of extra time. The World Cup quarter-final, in which England have played with 10 men since the 62nd minute, has gone to penalties.
The England team suffered from poor management. The same can be said of the hooligans.
They didn't have effective leadership, which was good. And I think the challenge to us now is to make sure that if any potential leaders try and put their heads above the parapet, that we're on top of them and make sure they don't succeed.
The vast majority of England fans behaved impeccably. Police tactics and banning orders seemed to work. But in 2 years' time, thousands will travel to Austrian Switzerland